Time for the Apple news again? Let's go. Welcome back to the channel. You know the drill by now. I've done a bunch of these. I go through a bunch of Apple sales at the beginning, and then I go through 10 or 15 different Apple-related stories. So if you like Apple, you love services and products and everything about Apple, sit back and relax, and let's get into it, the news. All right, let's just get into some of these Apple product sales first. Just check my screen out. $17.99. This is not the best one. This is the Apple 14-inch MacBook Pro M2 Pro Silver right there. $17.99. This is the standard version, 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigabyte SSD, the base model more or less. So that's about $200 off. This is about where you keep seeing it, so pretty good deal, but not the best there. The next deal I think is even better. This is from B&H, right? $499 for the M2 Mac Mini, and it's no student discount here. This is what anybody can get. So you've seen this a couple times here, but it dropped here again. I don't think it's going to get much lower even during Christmas and stuff. So anyways, if you want to pick this up, $499 at B&H is a good deal. All right, the next one is a pretty good deal as well, even though it's getting on like 1 or 2 years old now. This is the Apple 16-inch or 16.2-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 chip. M1 Pro chip, obviously, $1949. Now, what makes that a good deal when you can get the M2 version? Well, let's scroll down here. So it's just got the 10-core CPU, 16-core GPU, 16 gigs of RAM, which is standard, but it's right here, basically, 1 terabyte. It's an upgrade to 1 terabyte on the SSD drive, so it looks like it's about $750 off that original price. I think that's a pretty good deal and a good editing machine if you need that space. All right, the next one's a fan favorite by me. I love this thing. A lot of people are going to disagree with me. This is the Refurbished from Apple Refurbished Store iMac. It's basically the 2020 version with the 5K display. Same display basically as a studio display. And the whole computer is $1169, $630 off right now. So it's 3 years old. I use a 2017 for most of my editing over there. This thing could edit. You just add RAM in the back, pop open the back, put like 64 gigs, 128 gigs in there. This thing will fly. I'm just telling you, a lot of people say, oh, you have to buy the M1. This is going to be good for a couple more years. I love this system. It's just one of the ones I love, and I hope it comes back. All right, we got a few more sales, and then we'll get into the news. Here we have the Apple Watch 8 series on Amazon right now, $339. This is actually 21% off. It used to be $429. And that's not a bad deal. This is the 8th generation though. And an article I wanted to show you right after that is, this is from Mac Rumors. Mark Gurman, the famous Mark Gurman says, Apple Watch 9 series and Ultra 2 to feature new heart rate monitor, more accurate sensors, U2 chip, and more. So this might be coming out soon. So you gotta weigh that. I think that's why it's on sale. If you look down here, let me just see here. It says it's, let me just see. The new Apple Watch will also feature the U2 ultra-wide chipset, and that'll basically give it better location services. It also says that it has an updated optical heart rate sensor, which is going to be better. It's going to be a little bit faster. It's going to be more efficient and more accurate and stuff like that. So I think you're going to have to weigh your options here, but that sale's pretty good. All right, and then one last thing from the Apple Refurbished store right here. This is the Mac Studio. This is the M1 Max chip. The Max chip, mind you. And look at this. So Apple's selling it for $1529. It's $270 off right now. It's got 32 gigs of RAM, 512 gigabyte SSD for $1529. I think if you're looking for the studio and you just, you're doing some even like pretty hardcore, YouTube editing and stuff like that, this thing will easily be able to crunch it even though it's a year or two old. I would definitely consider this than spending maybe, $2,700 on the M2 chip or the M3 coming out. If you want to save some money, this is a good deal. All right, so here's the news. Let's get into the news. Here's a new monitor, at least it says Philips tempts creators with affordable 27-inch display with USB-C, DCI, P3, and more. All right, so here it is right here. I'll show you the cost in a second. Actually, it's under $500, which is the key here. It's a 4K screen. Now, the features over here, it says it's 27-inch. Obviously, it's got 16:9 aspect ratio, 400 nits of brightness, which is important. That's actually pretty bright for this price range. 4 millisecond response time. And obviously you can go ahead and take a look at this. You can pause it if you want to. The main thing down here though is it has HDMI 2.0 for the input, display port for the input, USB-C, which is actually key for the input as well. It's got video output, display port 1, but then it's got a hub also. So if we look at it in here, let me just go to the right here. This is going to be on Amazon. You can take a look in here, and it's $499 right now on Amazon, which is a really good price on this. So you're getting all those things, and it has that built-in KVM as well. Let's see if we can get down here and get some pictures on that. All right, so here's a picture of the built-in KVM. You can see all the ports in the back here, tons of them back here. So that's actually built into the monitor. Now it's a plastic monitor. It is silver. It looks kind of elegant, but it is plastic. Keep that in mind. So the hub, though, it says it's got all these different plugs, 10 gigabit per second, USB-C, data, everything, fast charging. So without getting too much into it, you guys can take a look at this. I'll definitely have a link to this Amazon page in the description. All right, 9to5 Mac states here, matte black MacBook again makes appearance on Apple patent. Would you want a matte black one? Now definitely, I think that might not show as many fingerprints. Maybe it does, I don't know. Then the shiny ones, it's just hard to say. Here it is, a little picture of it, but it says the original matte black MacBook. It says it basically had gotten a matte black MacBook was back in 2006. Anyways, let me know. Can't you just put a D-skin on it or something? It looks pretty much like that one has one on it. Does it really need to come out in matte black? I think it would be cool for sure, but it's just a rumor. All right, this next article is interesting. So it says macOS Sonoma could be locked down with XProtect behavioral security. XProtect is built into your Mac right now. And the cool thing about this is it says Apple's XProtect is a set of rules that are used to check apps and code on the Mac for malware. Initial iterations of XProtect checked apps during gatekeeper checks, so when you actually installed something, with later updates adding a daily check and expanding the types of malware it could detect. So it started detecting daily. But it says a third version of the concept appeared in Mac Ventura, but acted as an observer capacity rather than actively dealing with malware issues. So then it's basically just saying, now it appears that Apple's gearing up this version to move from observing to basically reacting in real time. So it looks like with Sonoma, this XProtect is going to get more powerful. It's going to do more work for you without actually just doing the gatekeeping stuff first and then letting it go from there. It's actually going to be active looking for things, which is actually going to be really good with all the threats coming out. All right, for Mac rumors here, it says Apple has been basically spending millions of dollars a day on conversational AI. So if you're afraid of AI like I am, I hate it really. I don't think it's going to be good for anybody. You can see Apple spending millions of dollars a day, which is just crazy. It says right here, Apple's foundational models team that does the conversational AI includes just 16 people, believe this or not. But Apple's spending millions of dollars per day training its language models. So 16 people in that division spending millions of dollars a day just training the language for the conversational AI, which is crazy, right? So they're really going to be gearing this up. I think this is going to be obviously what Apple's really going to try to be a leader on, because this is where all the money is moving forward. But it does scare me when they're spending that much money a day on something that I think is going to be pretty scary. The next article is by 9to5 Mac, and I think this is actually interesting. You let me know. I just wanted to throw it in here. iPhone users spend 7 times more on apps than Android users. That's pretty crazy, right? So I went down here, I was kind of looking through the article, and it says right down here, let me just see. It says that equates to a monthly revenue per user of $10.40 per iPhone user, $10.40 per month on each iPhone user on apps, and it's only $1.40 on Android. So you can see that even though Android's got basically double or 4 times the amount of users or some crazy thing like that, Apple's is 7 times more revenue. So it actually, Apple looks like it's making more, making more revenue overall on the App Store. All right, some good news here. It says, Mac rumors, Apple begins selling refurbished 15-inch MacBooks Air in Europe. So the 15-inch MacBook Air on the refurbished store, it's being sold in Europe. It looks like it's Austria, Belgium, the UK, France, Germany, Ireland. It's starting to show up there. And we're usually the United States is just slightly behind by a couple weeks. So if you're going to be looking for that 15-inch MacBook Air refurbished, definitely take a look in the next couple weeks. It's going to probably show up on Apple Refurbished. All right, next article, it says JP Morgan drops Apple stock target to $230 over low expectations for the iPhone 15. We know that the iPhone 15 is coming out here in a couple days, actually. So we're going to see how that sells. But this is good news and bad news, right? Look at this. $230 is their target price. I think everyone owns some Apple stock. And then if you look at the next article over here, this is Google itself, and it's saying Apple is at a $179.14 as of today. So if you do the math on that, that's another $50 swing up, a number of percentage points up. So if you invest in Apple right now, it only goes to $230. You're still going to be making tons of money. So it seems like a no-brainer if you're going to be buying stock. Here's a cool article. It says Apple's most popular iPad shifted to this model in 2023. So what is it? So we went down here. This is by that Consumer Intelligence Research Partners again. But you can see here it says the iPad Pro was basically the 12.9 inch was the leader here in 2022, and then it dropped to 25% in 2023. It looks like the iPad Pro 11 inch went down to 16%, and it went up to 26% in 2023. So this is actually the most common one. The iPad Pro 11-inch is the most common iPad sold. And then you can see down here some other numbers. The iPad Air actually went down. The cheapest one here is basically holding its own there. And then the iPad Mini actually went up quite a bit from 9% to 16%. Obviously, this has to do with models coming out and stuff. But at the end of the day, it looks like, obviously people didn't want to spend all the money in the 12.9-inch one and went slightly smaller and slightly cheaper. All right, so the next article says Apple and ARM's iPhone and Mac chip partnership will continue for decades, all right? So if you're worried about the chips going away or anything like that, in ARM and Apple working together, it's not gonna happen for a while. I was going through the article here, and there's some interesting stuff in here. Kind of scroll down, it says, first of all, it says Apple extends beyond 2040 with ARM. So the ARM-Apple relationship is extended to 2040, long time from now. Also, keep in mind that it says Apple uses ARM technology, goes beyond the iPhone, iPad, and Mac chips. It uses the technology in many other chipsets in its products, all right? We should know that as well. It also states in here that ARM does not design Apple chips. Instead, Apple is a license. It licenses basically the ARM technology, and then it creates its own chips. Long story short, though, these are all the M1 chips and all that kind of stuff. 2040, they're thinking way ahead, but they have a partnership until at least then. So we're going to be getting these M-series chips for a long time. Okay, so if you like gaming on a Mac, you don't have a ton of choices, but you do have Apple Arcade. It says Apple Arcade is getting 4 new games and 40 updates in September. Obviously, they have a ton of games. So if you scroll down here, it says My Talking Angela 2 Plus. It's a popular virtual pet game, Japanese rural life adventure, a cozy simulation, Junk World, a tower defense game, which are fun. We always love those kind of defense games. But this is the one I'm interested in, Cypher 007. It's an all-new James Bond experience where players immerse themselves in a modern twist of spy adventure. So that's really cool. So I went down and I checked that one out. And I'll go ahead and play this really quickly for you, and we'll see how this is. Actually, let's go ahead and open this up, and we'll see how this game is. All right, as you can see, it's basically a James Bond game. You run around the different rooms, and you have to save. You're kind of an action hero. The reason I like this so much, though, is it's got like the guy with the teeth up here from some of the movies, and it's got all the different characters that were in the movies of James Bond. You can actually fly different helicopters around. It's a shooting type game as well. So overall, I think this game will be really cool, really fun, and it's obviously, I think $5.99 for our Apple Arcade, and you get hundreds of games now. All right, so the next story, we always have our China story. It says China bans government officials from using iPhones at work. So a lot of people are saying this is going to really hurt Apple. It's going to take away a lot of their business and stuff. That's a huge market for them. It will only if the consumer level goes away. This is only for the government, because the next article over here says kind of the opposite. It says China's government iPhone ban will have almost no effect on sales. It says it's about 500 units right here, but it also says that they sell about 45 million sold in China. Basically, he said this relative to what he says 45 million units were sold. So overall, you're thinking 500,000 versus 45 million. The population's so big, it really depends on the consumer market if they take that away. But this isn't going to have a huge effect, even if you hear it a bunch of times in this, in the news. This next one's a rumor, and I'm not sticking to it because I don't believe it, but let's just see. It says, new low-cost MacBook rumor to take on Chromebooks in education. And this is by Apple Insider. So kind of what it says is it's a rumor score. It's in the middle, but it says it's basically unlikely. It's very, there's a slim chance for this. And I went on to read the article. I'm not going to go through it all here, but the article goes on to say, what would they have to do? It would have to be in the $400 price range. They could obviously scavenge a lot away from their other systems if it's too good. They don't want to make it so good, but it may be just cheap something, basically it's going to be more of an iPad on a screen with the typing keyboard all built in. So we'll have to think about it, because obviously they use the iPads for a lot of the educational stuff now. You tell me what you think. If you get one for $450, do you think that would scavenge from the other systems, or do you think it would be good enough for education and it's a good idea? All right, so the last story is probably not the most important, but it is if you use PayPal credit cards. It says PayPal finally launches Apple Pay support for its credit and debit cards. So now you can add those different PayPal cards to your Apple Wallet, which is good. So at the end of the day, not a huge story, but if you use PayPal and you have those credit cards, it's a good feature to know about, that they just came out and it's now supported. All right, we're going to wrap this up. I hope you like the news like this. I just like to keep busy and keep updated on all the Apple news. You tell me in the comments. You know my other stuff. I do tons of hard drive stuff. I have a bunch of computers coming next, and I got some hard drives, and I got some gadgets coming. I got a bunch of different technology coming, so subscribe to my channel. All about Mac stuff, and I do some Windows stuff here and there, Chromebooks, but 90% Mac, 90% gadgets, and SSD drives, and hubs, and everything else. So if you like that kind of stuff, subscribe and help me out. I want to grow this channel, and we will talk to you in the near future here. Peace.